There is hockey news here in Arizona. Doan is involved in bringing the NHL back to AZ, and ASU Hockey kicks off its season this weekend. The PHNX Hockey Show is back. Don't go anywhere. Hello, everybody, and welcome into the PHNX Hockey Podcast. It's been a while since I've said that. I'm Leah Merrall here with the man himself, Steve Peters. PD, we're back here in our brand new studio in downtown Phoenix. Your first time.
It is, and I will say this, because I was here at the very beginning of this dream, magical tour we call PHNX, and the leaps and bounds that have occurred with this network since I first joined in our little tiny office. We felt like a bunch of college kids, except for me. But we felt like a bunch of college kids, like almost like on a class project. This is adulting now. Like, this is really nice. It's good to be back here, and I finally get into the new studio. Love it. It's a fantastic building.
Well, it was about time that we did a show, PD, because, there's nothing much going on over the summer as it related to Arizona hockey. And boom, it feels like in the last 2 weeks, there's been a ton of stuff. So I'm really excited to chat with everyone. I see Christina in the chat. My name is Fat Mike, Steven, Lucas, John, Michael, Christina, Deborah, Spencer, Roaring Fork, all our friends. Great to see you all here. Be sure to leave a thumbs up on this video while you're here and subscribe to the channel if you're new here. But PD, how's it been? What's new?
John was hopefully get a PD side. The reality of us talking about hockey in Arizona and still the lack of NHL hockey, I would say that the chances of size are
that parlay is like minus 1,000.
I'm really good. I will say this, though. The NHL hockey season starts on Tuesday night. There's 3 games on Tuesday. The season starts, and the season's been over for a few months. And I was just telling you this, too. Like, you have all these grand plans over the summertime. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. You're going to make all these plans. Everything's going to be great. And now the season's here again. And I just didn't do it. I'm so lazy. I just can't get anything on track. But I'm really excited. I am excited. There's so many unanswered questions beyond the team moving back to Arizona and getting hockey back here in the NHL in Arizona. There's so many questions. McDavid's not signed yet. Are the Rangers going to be any good? What's happened? What did Florida do without Barkov? Like, those are all the burning questions we need to answer.
Well, we will not be talking about that on this show. No. There's plenty of other shows where they'll talk all about that, but we're here to talk about Arizona hockey news, and let's get into it. Later on the show, we have an interview that Craig and I did with Andrea Doan, which is really exciting. We're going to talk all about the committee and the announcement of Andrea on that committee. We're going to talk about the Cardinals' new training facility. I promise it ties in. And then we're going to wrap things up at the end by previewing ASU Hockey, which starts tomorrow, which I can't even believe it's already here. Really exciting. But let's kick things off with the biggest news, which is that last week, Andrea Doan, of course, wife of longtime Coyotes captain and legend Shane Doan, was named chair of the advisory committee to bring the NHL back to Arizona. That committee, of course, was established by Maricopa County Board of Supervisors Chair Tom Galvin earlier this year, who we had on the show about 6 months ago now at this point. The effort of that committee is to bring political and business leaders in Arizona to work together to bring the NHL back to the Valley. And what was your reaction to hearing that Andrea Doan was named chair of the committee?
Yeah, I think it's important. I think it's important to put a recognizable name attached to this project and to this committee. I think it gives it some real meat on the bone now. And I think the Doan name here in Arizona hockey-wise, it's the pinnacle of the hockey families in Arizona. And I do think this pulls some weight internationally across Canada and the U.S. I do think that putting Andrea Doan's name attached to this, I think it's important. Now, does it get this team closer to the finish line? Probably not yet. But it is another opportunity to get this committee's name out there. Arizona attached to hockey in the NHL, get out there again. So I think having her name and the family name Doan attached to this program and committee is incredibly important.
Yeah, absolutely. Because every time from the moment the team left and people started talking about Coyotes 2.0 returning, the overall sentiment has been Shane Doan needs to be involved. Doan needs to be involved. And, obviously he has other priorities right now working for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And that's part of the reason why Andrea's stepping into this role. But I just think the name Doan has so much cachet, not only in the Valley and the community here, but in the NHL as a whole. And that's something that we do talk to Andrea about in our interview, which we'll get to here shortly. But it was great. They had a press conference last week with Tom Galvin, Andrea Doan, and Lyndsey Fry. The NHL to Arizona, big logo behind them. It was really cool. I think after, what was it, like almost 8 months with no news since just the announcement that the committee was even in existence, even though there's a long road to go, which of course we'll talk about. It was nice to have, as people like to use the phrase, a little bit of hopium, if you will, just to feel like, okay, things are moving in the right direction.
Yeah, but one thing you bring up, and this is something that lacked when Merrall took the team and moved them to Utah, and they were talking about building a new building, and we went through the Tempe vote and so many issues with that Tempe vote when it came to politics and when it came to conversations with the airport and labor unions and all of those things that occurred after the building was trying to become a reality. This time with Tom Galvin, and what he's trying to do is to get out in front of it, get the political engine and the political and business communities behind this before the ball gets rolling. And I think that's incredibly important. It's a piece that maybe is able to dissuade some of those negative arguments that are to come. And they're going to come. When this continues to get further down the road, there are going to be political issues. There may be issues with the airport, depending on where the site is located. So all of those fights are yet to come. So what Tom Galvin has done, and by the way, he's not doing this as an official role of his duties with the Maricopa County Board. This is his personal, and he's using his political influence to help that process. I think it's incredibly important, and I think it's a positive step in this very, very, very long road ahead.
Absolutely. Well, I think without further ado, let's hear from the chair of the advisory board herself. Let's hear from Andrea Doan. The Doan name is officially associated with the efforts to bring the NHL back to Arizona, and we are thrilled to welcome Andrea Doan to the show. Andrea, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, guys. Thanks so much for having me.
Of course. Well, we just saw you last week at the news conference where you talked about how excited that your family was about this opportunity. But we want to know, what's been the reaction from the greater hockey community, either former Coyotes employees or even just the greater NHL community?
Yeah, well, it's been great. We've had, we've heard from a lot of people from our friends from the NHL that we either played with or even that played in the NHL and retired in Phoenix. They've reached out, like the guys and their wives also, and not just like, oh, hey, cool, I saw you guys are doing this, but honestly, they're all like, let us know what we can do. Like, how can we help? We want to also be involved. Same with, the ice den and hockey coaches there and hockey moms. No, there's been like positive feedback from everyone, and that's just another indication of the support system that we have that makes us so confident moving forward with this.
You don't want to drop any names of people that have contacted you out there?
Oh, okay, let's see. Well, it'd be like blast from the past too, like Amy Carney. Do you remember when Keith Carney played? Oh, yeah. And they've stayed here the whole time. And Chuck and Chrissy Kobasu, he played, well, not for the Coyotes, but throughout their career, him and Shane were buddies. And on the Yells, they retired here. Of course, the Whitneys, our neighbors, the Pyetts, the Nashes. Like there's a pretty big group of us, and then Mike DeAngelis from the Ice Den, Mark Ciaccio, he was another one of their skating coaches and involved with us over the years. And then Fritchie was actually there at the interview, and oh gosh, like honestly, just other hockey moms and the Nyes, Matthew Nyes, well, you guys know, of course, he plays here for Toronto. So his mom and I keep in touch quite a bit. And just honestly, like everyone has been so gracious and just willing to help out, and honestly so excited about it.
We know that your role is still being shaped, but when you're sitting at a conference table with politicians or business leaders who will have a major hand in trying to bring the NHL back to Arizona, what will your message be to them, Andrea?
Well, I think honestly, the business leaders, they understand the importance of bringing the NHL back to Arizona and the importance of having the professional sports here in the Valley, in large cities, all four sports. So many of them, and this is more coming from Tom and his understanding of it, but they have acknowledged that like losing the NHL was a huge economic and honestly a little bit of a reputational blow to the state and to the city. So in order to be successful in bringing the Coyotes back, yes, there needs to be the unified front with the businesses, with the other sports communities, and the public, with everybody advocating for this effort. So I think we're moving on. We're learning from the past, and I think also just creating that collaboration with the other sports leaders, and then of course like our grassroots supporters and everybody on the committee, and activating our networks of colleagues to get this done right. So yeah, it's of course bringing the NHL back, but we want this franchise to be solid and sustainable in the community, and focused on doing things the right way and bringing a successful and winning team to Arizona.
Can you talk a little bit about your relationship with Gary Bettman and Bill Daly? We've heard some stories about how your husband Shane helped end the NHL lockout, but what have been your personal dealings with, the commissioner and the deputy commissioner, and how can that help with this venture?
Yeah, honestly, they've been great to us, and they see how hockey can work in Arizona. They understand hockey and the markets and just the non-traditional markets and how well they've done in those. And Phoenix has always been one of the top as in their vision for just the NHL, let alone, the Coyotes. So, and yeah, the lockout, Shane's such a good little mediator. He does a good job with that kind of stuff. But anyways, yeah, you know what they've been always open with us, candid. We've had a cordial relationship, and it's based on our love of the NHL, of hockey, of doing what it takes to make it work in Phoenix. And yeah, they 100% desire, of course, to grow the NHL, to have it flourish, but especially in Arizona.
By the way, that story was confirmed by Gary Bettman himself, that Shane helped end the lockout. So I didn't have to wonder whether it was true or if it was urban myth. We know that the Doan family members are all hockey fans. I've seen you at so many games. I remember the whole crew moving through so many different games. Remember Josh running through the locker room. I hate to say it, when he was knee high. I can't believe I'm the guy saying it. Shane said he can't remember a home game where all the kids were not present with you, at least when they were all living here. But your impact goes so much beyond spectator role. So I want to ask you a few pieces here. I want to first get a sense of what your role was in Josh's youth hockey career, which Shane describes as way more than a hockey mom. Obviously, he wasn't around a lot because he had to be on the road or at practice. So what all did that entail for you?
Well, yes, I mean, he's funny. Like, I would not say that my role was anything more than just a regular hockey mom. I think that, yeah, with their schedule and the way that it would work and fall is they can't change anything. So if there's games or there's tournaments and, youth hockey in Phoenix, if they were at a higher level, because of course there's not too many teams close by to drive to, you're having to travel. So he'd be off to who knows where, Columbus, and I'd have the 4 kids and have to figure out how I'm, going to juggle everyone for that weekend. There's not really a tag team effort at that point. So yeah, and we were involved in the sense of understanding that for the hockey community to grow and youth hockey to grow, it was important for the boys to stay as long as they could in Phoenix and Arizona, because there's great youth hockey. Honestly, the competition was unbelievable, and some of the boys, if they were really wanting to step it up to this higher level, they'd be getting phone calls from Detroit or back east. And so we were really trying to communicate like, hey, we've got a solid basis here and there's great coaching, and if these boys can all stick together, they can really be successful in their own right and sort of make an impact. And so that, I would say, was something that we would work hard to create that for the boys when they were especially younger. And I think Shane, of course, is a little more old school with the thinking where he's like, if they're good enough, they're good enough. Like, it'll all work out. I know that in today's, it's a little different with youth sports and, college and all that kind of stuff. And we understand that side of it. But honestly, we sort of just took that approach. If, first of all, you can't force anything on your child. Like, they're either wanting to do this or they're not. Like, they kind of have to lead the way with that. And so we just tried to create a community where, we could offer the best that we could for the boys right in their hometown and stay together as long as possible. And honestly, like Josh and Matthew, Austin Matthews, of course, and there's been a lot of young players that have done great with their careers in college.
All right, sticking with the youth hockey thing for a minute, and I wanted to ask you about, and I know I asked you this briefly on the interview that we did by phone previously, but what on earth possessed you to bring in some billets to the family, where, as you said, it wasn't exactly a tag team effort. You're running who knows how many places, and then you bring in a couple of extra bodies so that you can manage that as well.
I know. I think Josh and Shane bullied me on that one. I didn't know it was coming, and I just was like, what? Okay. But honestly, it was just one of those things where it ended up working out. And I think so they were a freshman in high school, but that's not high school in Canada. You're in grade 8 typically when you go to high school. So the nationals, because I was thinking about how this all came together. The USA Hockey Nationals was coming to the Ice Den that year. And so it was kind of an exciting year because they were going to be there. Of course, the team, like the Coyotes, the junior Coyotes, still had to make that team. But it was sort of an opportunity, of course, with it being a smaller, youth hockey market. You're wanting the teams to be competitive. And there was an opportunity for 2 boys from Canada to come down and just experience living in the States, which for Canadians is a huge deal, like getting to experience what it's like living in another country. And Shane was still playing at the time. So they kind of got to, get a taste of what that lifestyle was like. And yet we added 2 more. We had 6 kids living with us that year, and everyone was like sharing bedrooms and it was musical bedrooms, and it was a great experience. Like our kids absolutely loved it. And then for the next 2 years, we had a boy from San Diego, and in San Diego, there was no longer a AAA for that age group. So he was going to have to maybe quit hockey or commute 2 hours one way, which was just not realistic. And so we had said, yes, you know what, no problem. And that was Sam Deckett. So, and honestly, all of those boys have done unreal with their careers. 2 have pro contracts. Sam is playing D1 at Ohio State, and they were great. They're great kids. We really enjoyed it.
All right, I want to move from the youth hockey ranks to the pro hockey ranks and your role there. I can remember after losses, that intense stare on Shane's face where he's probably running through these 70 different things that he might have done in a game to change the outcome, and constantly saying, I need to be better. I need to be better. It was always on him. Tell us what role you played, whatever you can tell us, by the way, as Shane's psychiatrist when he came home from one of those losses.
It is an interesting lifestyle when, your kids or your husband literally play a game for a living, because it's an interesting dynamic. And of course, they're so competitive. So it doesn't matter, just losing is never fun, and it weighs on you. So I think you just have to go through it, really. Like, there's not really any type of quick fix. We just would talk about it, or not if he doesn't want to talk about it. And you're moving on fairly quickly with whatever's going on with the kids. I think with the leadership position that he was in, and of course, then both of us were doing that together. We always had that side of it also. Mm-hmm. And then with whatever was going on that year with the ownership, we're just sort of trying to maintain an even playing field, for everyone. Just everything's going to be okay. And we're all just here working together. So yeah. And it still is like that. Gosh, they still just hate to lose now that I'm thinking about it. That not as a player, but in management or whatever it is.
Oh, man. Andrea, I want to know from you, obviously, you've been entrenched in this community for almost 30 years since, you and Shane moved here when the team got here. I just want to know from you personally, now that you're taking on this chair role with this committee, and I know a lot of people were really excited about that news, but for you personally, why is it so important to see the NHL back here in Arizona?
Well, I think for me, like just speaking personally, it did feel like a huge loss. So this was something where it was almost like a shock at first, because we personally, me, I don't know the city or the state without hockey being there. It's the reason that we came. I remember, driving there in my early 20s, all the way from BC, and oh my gosh, my car then did not have air conditioning. Like that's how much I was not, there was a bit of an adjustment period with Canada to Phoenix. But anyway, I think, over the years, there is a history. And I even think about, our good friends, and even say Stan and Shelley Wilson, who came over from Winnipeg, and their kids came over, and they, went to school in Arizona, and now their kids are married and have kids. And in fact, one of their daughters married Nate Schoenfeld, who's one of the Coyotes coach's son. I don't know. Yeah, Craig, you remember that. So anyway, now their kids are playing, like their grandkids are playing at the ice den, and they're unbelievable hockey players. And I just think, that's that side where you realize, like, this was such a huge community to us. Like, this was honestly like our life. And I think just for Phoenix, like, it's the 5th largest city in the nation, and there's just a gap without having the NHL team there. And I think that the culture of hockey brings so much to the city also, and that's something that we just want to bring back and have it there again.
Absolutely. Well, we can't thank you enough for your time. I know you've been doing a lot of interviews over the last week or so, but we sincerely appreciate it. I know hockey fans here in the Valley are really excited about this venture and are looking forward to hopefully one day having the NHL back here.
Yeah, same with us. And we think, we're pretty convinced it's going to happen. So
we're pretty convinced it's going to happen. Thank you again to Andrea Doan, and of course to our friend Craig Morgan for jumping on that interview with me, getting it all set up. So great to have him. But really nice to hear from Andrea. Really cool to hear about just the response from the hockey community, especially the people who live here or former players who retired here, and even, some current players as well. So it does feel like, again, there is that momentum around it, but all the same issues still exist.
Yeah, and here, take this as it's a baby step. It's good news. Things are going the right direction. Getting this committee named puts us on even footing with Atlanta and Houston, and I think those two cities are probably farther along. I did think that a month, maybe 2 months ago, Atlanta has talked about actual sites. They've got the political engine moving in their direction, helping funding already. And Houston, you talk about what's happening in Houston with Dan Friedkin coming out and saying, hey, I'm a billionaire. I want to have a team. Well, all he did is come out and say, I want to have a team. He's met with the league, and now Arizona's in that same boat. They've got a committee, they've got a group, and they've talked to Gary Bettman, and they know that they exist here. That's the first step. And I know this is a long process, and I know there's the naysayers and hockey doesn't work here. Dude, it's going back to Atlanta for the third time. For the third time. This is a hockey community. We've seen it from the youth hockey level. We see it at ASU. We've seen it with Matthews and Nyes. There's a hockey community here. And I know it's just a matter of getting the right owner in the right place at the right time. I really believe deep down it's happening. And when I hear Andrea Doan say she's convinced it's going to happen, that just helps bring hope. And we've said that all along, Leah, we just want some hope in this hockey community. And I think that's what this has provided for the hockey people in Arizona.
Absolutely. And I think, something that stood out about the press conference last week, and I asked directly Tom Galvin, like, what can people expect? Because we keep hearing behind the scenes, like, what does that mean? What can people expect? And the truth is, you're probably not going to hear much. And I think that's a good thing. I think this fan base has been betrayed so many times. There's been so many promises made. I would rather hear nothing, radio silence for 3 years, and then all of a sudden, here's the plan. This is what's happening.
Yep.
We're in motion, rather than, well, this could happen, and then, at the last second, it's not. I think that is something that this fan base has been through for far too long, and they're doing their due diligence. The fact that they're putting together a committee, that's intentionality. You mentioned before, getting the political and business leaders involved, that's important. In the press conference last week, Tom Galvin said there was absolutely political support for this, which, if you look at the landscape of trying to get an arena, which we could do a whole other hour on that. We don't need to venture that far today, but that's been a huge holdup here in Arizona, is the political support and that sort of thing. So just to hear those things, and what will be front facing is going to be the community initiative. And something that stood out that Lyndsey Fry said last week was she wants it so that if you Google Arizona hockey, there's always new stuff coming up. And you see what the Matt Schott Foundation's doing. You see, what all the youth hockey communities are doing here, and hockey is alive and well here. There's tons and tons and tons of youth hockey, adult hockey, college hockey, not just ASU Division I. There's club programs here. And obviously we want to send our best wishes to Arcadia Ice that just sustained a ton of damage in the monsoons last week. And unfortunately, some programs are going to be displaced for a few weeks. So hopefully the hockey community can rally together to help support those displaced teams. But there's a really strong hockey community here. We've also seen the Vegas Golden Knights come in and host Learn to Skates, Learn to Play. So there's a lot of people supporting this, and getting the NHL back would only inject more into the community, I believe.
And I think what I want to do too is be mindful of what we say when we say behind the curtain, and there's things going on behind the scenes. What does that mean? Well, first of all, this committee is helping channel people and getting people together. From what I've been hearing with people close to this situation is that there are people with money, real money, that are interested in bringing hockey back to Arizona. And I think that's the first step, is getting the people with money. And I'm hearing people that have the wherewithal to get this done. And this is going to be $2 to $4 billion to get this whole thing done, between a building and expansion fees and getting back into the league. And it's getting those people on to the people in the political side of it. And most importantly, the problem that has been there for years is, where the heck is the building going to be? Yep. And that continues to be the biggest issue. Is where is this building? And you, again, keep in mind how close it is to downtown. Does that bring up the issues that we saw in the last go round in Tempe? Is the airport get involved? Does Matt Ishbia get involved, going, hey, I don't want any concert venues close to where I'm trying to do my business here with the Phoenix Suns? Does that become an issue?
Or even for the cities, if it's going to be in a competing city,
we've seen that already with the city of Phoenix, and we saw that with the city of Scottsdale, the Scottsdale mayor with their areas. So again, it's baby steps. But when you say things are happening behind the scenes, are people meeting that have money, that are meeting with the league? The answer is yes. Are people looking at land sites right now and trying to come up with land deals? The answer is yes. So there are things happening. Now, again, long, slow process. But like we were saying, I was talking about Kaprizov and his ability to sign his deal in Minnesota. And for those of you who don't know, just signed the biggest ticket in NHL history. It isn't happening until it is. And you're not signed until there's that one phone call. This all changes on one phone call. And that phone call could be today. It could be tomorrow. It could be 6 months. It could be a year. But that's how quickly things are going to change here. The right piece of land by the right ownership group with the right connections to Tom Galvin and the political engine in Arizona are all going to click on one phone call. And then this thing is going to start rolling. I really believe that. And that's why it's not tomorrow. They're not going to play in the 27 season. They're not going to play in the 28 season. Can they play NHL hockey in Arizona in 2030? Yeah, they can. Can they play 2031? Absolutely. And I think that's more of the timeline we're looking at, the 2030, 2031 season. But that's not that far away. And things are going to move quickly once they start moving. I sincerely believe that. And I know there's people across the northern border that are not happy with that are looking for teams back in Quebec City. And
I saw something about a second team in Toronto just yesterday.
It's not going to happen. I mean, I think those things, the likelihood of those things happening before there's a team back in Atlanta, Houston, and Phoenix are probably slim.
I would agree. And by the way, for more on, the formation of the committee, we have the full press conference posted on the PHNX Sports YouTube channel and the PHNX Hockey playlist. If you want to go check that out. And of course, you can read all of the interviews that Craig did with Tom Galvin, Andrea Doan, and Lyndsey Fry on Craig's Substack. So definitely make sure you check that out. And I also want to give a shout out because Patrick Brown was supposed to be on the show today. He wanted to be on the show so bad. And last minute he had a scheduling issue. But I know he really wanted to be here talking hockey. Patrick loves hockey.
Miss you, Patrick.
Yeah, we miss you, Patrick. But on the note of Patrick, everybody here in the chat, by the way, hit the thumbs up on this video if you haven't already. Subscribe to our newsletter. It is absolutely free. It costs $0 to subscribe. Go phnx.com/newsletter. You just type in your email, boom, you're subscribed. And every morning at 6 a.m. on Monday through Friday, you're going to get a newsletter written by Patrick Brown in your inbox. Everything you need to know. Sometimes it's hard to keep up with what's going on. Patrick will keep you up to date on all the latest in Arizona sports in our daily newsletter. So make sure you subscribe. It's a great read. I read it every single day. And he does such an amazing job.
And I want to say, because we all here that live in Arizona want to keep up with what's going on with Arizona sports. And I can't believe she's actually in the chat. And part of our show today is the Erica Day. And if those of you don't know what's happening with the Mercury, first of all, you're not turning on your TV.
And you clearly didn't read the newsletter this morning.
Yeah, I didn't read the newsletter in the Phoenix metro area of what's going on with the Phoenix Mercury playing in the WA Championship starting this weekend in Las Vegas. Make sure you're tuning into the Mercury Show. If you don't know anything about the Mercury, if you've never seen WNBA basketball and you're not a fan, jump in with Erica Day on PHNX and the Mercury Show. Start today. She'll fill you in on everything you need to know. Steven's on that show too, isn't he? Steven might be the smartest guy in basketball.
He might know more about basketball than anyone I've ever met.
Steven's a pretty smart dude when it comes to basketball. So jump in. They'll catch you up to date. It's not too late to jump on the Merc bandwagon. So jump on Erica's show and the Mercury Show.
Yeah, they're live today.
I'm a huge fan of Erica and Steven and their work. And I love the Mercury too.
Yep, absolutely.
So read the newsletter so you don't miss out on that.
And by the way, if you're in the chat and you're not a supporters club member, if you're wondering what are all those green names showing up in the chat, those are our YouTube supporters club members. And if you sign up today for the cost of a cup of coffee, you get access to all of these awesome emojis, including the Scorch one that Erica put in the chat earlier. We have little Phoenix ones, tons of different emojis for your favorite teams, and including some great ASU ones. So when we talk about the Sun Devils later, you can throw those forks up in the little Sun Devil and maybe even Kenny Dillingham. We have all those emojis in the chat. So become a YouTube member today. I am one because I had FOMO about all the emojis. I was like, I need to get in on this, and I'm obsessed. So
I like emojis.
Become a YouTube member today.
Copy.
All right, PD. Well, it's funny because we were maybe going to do a show last week because there's so much news, and we thought, let's just do it next week. Well, I'm kind of glad because there was some news on Tuesday that was Arizona hockey adjacent.
Yes.
So on Tuesday, the Arizona Cardinals announced updated plans for a brand new training facility in North Phoenix, west of Scottsdale Road and north of Loop 101.
That area of town sounds familiar, Leah. Why is that?
Ayrton, if we can pull up the screenshot of where the Coyotes' proposed arena was going to be. Well, there it is. This was the North Phoenix site that Alex Merrall was going to intend to bid on. And of course, we all know what happened. The auction got canceled days before. And then at that point, then he walked away, right after that, it was all done. But if you're watching on YouTube, north of the 101, west of Scottsdale Road. Okay, that's the image that we all saw for months with this whole process.
Yes.
Well, if we can look at the image the Arizona Cardinals posted, look familiar? That parcel of land. So, I read the news release. I read all the articles about it. The Cardinals purchased the property at an auction from the Arizona State Land Department for $136 million this past summer. PD, if I recall, last time we did a show, like literally the last time we did a show, we talked about the fact that that land got sold and it was by like a Minnesota-based developer. Yep. Well, now we know who really bought the land. The Arizona Cardinals, for their brand new training facility. It's going to house their football and business operations, and quotes will anchor a mixed-use 217-acre site occupying 30 acres and over 250,000 square feet. It's going to be completed in 2028.
And you know what I didn't hear? I didn't hear Scottsdale's mayor saying this is a bad idea, that we don't want it here. Did you hear that?
I did not.
I did not hear that. So, goes to show, things matter. Ownership matters. People matter. Relationships matter. And that is going to go in there. And I know it's a few years away. Can't wait. Can't wait, because it's just down the road. We know this. Down the road from where I'm at. So I'll be down there. Can't wait for this to get developed. But it does show that this piece of land that was proposed for an arena site, again, we talk about how important politics are, that the mayor of Scottsdale jumped out right away and said, we don't want it. We don't want this here. And I think when you see the Cardinals take this, again, quietly, and it's just announced and we're done. It's done. Move forward. And that's the kind of play I think we want to see with what happens next in the return of the NHL to Arizona. This quiet, hey, we don't know anything about it.
The news is just announced, like it's done.
The next day, it's here, it's in the news. The next day, there's a Cardinal training facility here. Here's where it's going to be. Here's the plan. We got it all done. That's what I want to see from hockey. I don't want to see the speculation, to your point. I don't want to see all of these things that, well, coulda, woulda, shoulda. I want to see, hey, it's done. We're doing it. Here's the plans. Here's where it's going to be.
Yep.
And I believe with this committee that Tom Galvin has set up, I think that's part of the purpose. I do think it's going to be that type of announcement. The next time you hear something, it's going to be more substantive.
Yeah. And granted,
I don't know.
It's all good. And granted, a training facility, it's not as intense as an arena where there'd be traffic and all of that. Like there's definitely ways that, this was probably easier for the Cardinals, but it is just crazy when you think about what we all went through in early 2024, the first half of 2024, when, okay, this is the land. Oh, actually, instead of 200 acres, it's going to be 100. Oh, and actually, because the size changed, now the auction date can only be 3 months from now, and that pushed it to June. And then, actually, 3 days before the auction, there's not the right land use permit and whatever it is. And, okay, now Alex Merrall is walking. It's done. And you see, then they posted the land. They did the auction earlier this summer. Sold. September 30th. Here's our announcement. Done.
Quietly. No problems. No issues. Just get it done. And again, I'm excited that the Cardinals got this done. They needed to upgrade their facilities. They needed to compete with the rest of the National Football League. I understand that. And this is what I want to see the path for Coyotes 2.0 to take.
Absolutely. And there's been a lot of speculation. Everyone's saying there's a lot of land. Like I don't know. We've been talking a lot about Mount Ishbia, not a lot about the Bidwells, but we'll let the committee.
I'm all for it. Leah, I can ride my bike down to the rink and watch Coyotes 2.0 if that's the case. So let's go. Get on it.
We'll see.
Bidwells.
All right. Well, we do have hockey here in the Valley, so let's talk about the hockey that we do have. And we will transition to talking about Arizona State, because Arizona State kicks off their second year in the NCHC this Friday and Saturday against Penn State. Of course, that matchup involves Gavin McKenna, who is right now the projected first overall pick in the 2026 NHL draft. And he is such a big deal that this weekend's games are actually going to be aired, PD, on NHL Network. Can't remember if that's ever happened. Probably
for
never.
ASU?
Yeah.
No.
And even it was funny. PD had the chance to sit down with Greg Powers last week, and we will post that full interview in our audio feed and on our YouTube for diehards. But he said, like, we're not under the assumption that they're coming here for ASU, but at the same time, it's going to be phenomenal exposure for ASU. So they have a huge opportunity and they have to make it count.
Yeah, I think it's important that this ASU program went from a club team to playing in Oceanside, to playing in Mullet, to being in the best conference in college hockey. This is another step to put them on that national landscape. And I think playing on the NHL Network in a big game, playing one of the premier players in college hockey, heck, one of the premier players in hockey today, and getting an opportunity to play against him helps put this program in the spotlight. And I think it's going to continue to do that. This program, hey, from where they were a decade ago to what they're doing now, It's phenomenal. They're putting players into the National Hockey League. And if you're doing that at the college level and you've got players like Josh Doan and Joey Decord going into the NHL, it's phenomenal. And they're not the last ones. Like Ty Murchison had a great camp in Philadelphia, and the list goes on. But I do think this is an important next step in a way that this program continues to grow nationally. So I'm really looking forward to the game. I will not, unfortunately, be watching it on the NHL Network, because you and I will be there live.
We will.
Tomorrow night.
And I know there's some other people. Spencer just asked. I know that
CWP.
A lot of our diehards will be there this weekend. So
really?
Looking forward to seeing everyone.
Oh, stop and say hi if you see us.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, so nationally, ASU's ranked 14th and Penn State's ranked 5th. So we got a top 15 matchup. But when you look at the NCHC preseason poll going into this year, ASU ranks 4th in the preseason poll. Last year, ASU was ranked 8th of 9 on this list. So a huge step forward for a program just in their second year in what I think a lot of people would consider the most competitive conference in college hockey. Greg Powers has said multiple times that he doesn't care about the preseason poll. He doesn't look at it, doesn't consider it. But just from, a perception thing, just to see where this program has come from being a club team at Oceanside to being a Division I team at Mullet. It's unbelievable. So ASU has an opportunity to have a great year.
Yeah, and we said this last year too, with the first year without the NHL being here in the Phoenix metro area, that one of the things you can do to take care of that hockey passion and the void you're having is follow this ASU hockey team. And I sincerely mean that, because if you get an opportunity to go to Mullet Arena, go. Like the excitement of a college hockey game is fantastic in that building. And I know it might not be the perfect place to see an NHL game, but it is to see a college game. And the atmosphere in there with the student body behind there, it is so much fun. And they're competitive. Like, this is a team that I believe is going to make the NCAA tournament this year. I really do. I think they're good enough. I think they're deep enough. They're young. They're fast, but they have older, strong guys too. They check all the boxes. It's going to be a fun team. It's going to be a wild ride. And it starts this weekend to see where they are going to fit nationally against this Penn State team that has the best player in college hockey and where they fit. And so I'm really excited to be on, and we talked about a bandwagon earlier, get on the bandwagon for this team too, because I really do think this is going to be a special season at ASU.
Absolutely. Well, for those who maybe are just getting back into the mindset of hockey, I'm one of those people. It's like the calendar switched to October yesterday. I was like, oh, okay, time to reactivate my fantasy league, time to study up. So we'll give you a quick rundown of everything you need to know about this ASU team. They're going to have actually co-captains this year, PD. Bennett Shimmick, who's a senior, and Kyle Smolin, who's a junior. And then they just recently announced their alternate captains, returning forwards junior Anthony Dowd and senior Cruz Lucius, and junior transfer Sean McGurn. Lots and lots of new faces for this team. There were a lot of seniors who graduated and left the program. But you actually had the chance to talk to Greg Powers about how do you go about, integrating all these guys in and getting them to buy in. And here's what Coach Powers had to say.
That's the part of the job that I really, really enjoy and I really embrace, and that I think I'm actually really good at, is getting teams to buy in and play for each other. We have an unbelievable captain group, and they have done such a good job with these kids, bringing them in and making them understand what our standards are here. And our guys are ready to go. We have a really good group of kids. We lost some great players last year that were here for a while, and some like Kerwin and Schlainer that came in, and Noah Beck that came in as grads and had great years for us. But what my goal is with this roster moving forward, now that we were kind of established where we're in a league and we can go and get really elite players that come here as freshmen, is to build teams that our fan base can really grow with, right? And you're going to see us probably go to the portal a lot less moving forward, because we won't have to. We went to the portal for the last 3 years so we could compete, and it worked, and we did really well with it. We're never going to not go to it, but I think you'll see us go to it a lot less because our freshman classes are caught up to where the program is.
I think that's interesting because I mentioned the evolution of this program, but this also was a team that was independent and they were relying on the transfer portal and all that stuff. And now, being in a conference, being in Mullet, they're able to kind of build more grassroots and get players by recruiting and have them come in and spend, all 4 years or just a couple years for those elite players. It's a sign, I think, of the progress that this team has made.
Yeah, and I think a couple of things with this season. We talk about the new faces. There's 17 new faces in a 25-man roster.
That's insane.
That's a lot. But we talked about Smolin and Shimmick and their ability to bring that Be the Tradition logo and that mentality that goes along with Coach Powers and bring that to this program. They know what it means to be an ASU Sun Devil. They know the pride in this program. And I tell you what, I've been in a lot of college hockey locker rooms. I played college hockey in North Dakota. We talk about some of the blue chip programs.
Yep.
I've been in those rooms. I know what it feels like, that feel. And you talk about a culture. ASU has that. They have that vibe there. When you go into Mullet Arena and their inner workings, their locker rooms, their space, you feel it. And you feel like you're a part of it. And I think it's a credit to what Coach Powers has done to this team and their ability to, I said, you got 17 new players. How are you going to do that? And he said it's the culture. And then they all want to be, and they all want to be a part of this. I think this is going to be not just an exciting year for the team, even though they're so young, but there's going to be some individual players that really take notice of college hockey and go, oh my gosh, this kid can play. I think they've got some really, really good hockey players that are going to be individual accolades and those things to follow in college hockey this season.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned the turnover. All new goalies this year. Yeah. All new goalies. So that's going to be different for this team. What do you know about the goalies?
Well, it's funny because we saw it with TJ Semptimphelter when we go back 2 years, and he was the starting goalie. Then he moves on to North Dakota. Well, last year you've got Homer Gibson. He transferred to North Dakota, so he's gone. Luke Pavicic, who ended up carrying the ball and being the number one goalie by the end of the season. Luke Pavicic had graduated. Now he's trying to continue his pro career. Played a few East Coast League games last year. He's joining the New York Islanders program. But I thought that was going to be an area of concern because you're flipping it over. But Coach Powers said it's going to be an area of strength. They feel through the porter from Bentley and in the Atlantic League, from Bentley and the NCAA, they made the NCAA tournament last year. Bentley, their goalie had 11 shutouts last year.
Wow.
And when you see what Connor Hasley is going to come in experienced, because he's played in the NCAA tournament now, he has 11 shutouts. He's been involved in college hockey. He's coming in as a senior, an experienced guy, big guy, 6'2". And he's going to be a guy that, he's going to be the guy carrying the ball. And there are a lot of expectations on Hasley that he's going to take a step beyond what you saw last year with Pavicic and Homer Gibson. I think it's a better option for them in net. So I think he's a guy that has the experience that you can go, okay, our goalie's been there. So I don't think you have that fear. And they bring in a backup who may not be a backup. They could be a 1A, 1B, is Sam Urban. And he's coming in as a freshman out of the USHL, but he played in Sioux City in the USHL, but he played for Team Slovakia in the World Junior. So he's played on a world stage, and he had really good numbers at the World Junior Under-20 tournament a year ago for Slovakia. So he's been in those high-pressure moments. So he is accustomed to these big moments and big hockey times and playing against really good players. So I think the tandem this year, and I thought it was really good last year.
Yeah.
I really did. I thought that was one of their strengths, and at times the consistency might not have been there. I think this year it's better. I think the goalie tandem at ASU is better than they were a year ago. I think they have more individual skill than they had a year ago. I think they added more size, which is something they lacked against a team like Western Michigan. So I think it's a team that's going to be able to do things this year that they couldn't last year. I believe this team's better. It's better on paper, even though they might not have those returning seniors and graduate students like they had a year ago. I think this ASU team is better than they were a year ago.
Well, there you have it. A couple other names to know. Jack Beck. That one made waves, not just locally, but in just college hockey in general, because he played in the ECHL.
Yeah, and he played 5 games in the American Hockey League as well. So this is a guy that played pro hockey on the pro level just below the NHL. Like, he's a pro hockey player. And there's go read the article on why the NCAA ruled the way they did. There are a few players that are playing pro hockey last year that are now playing in the NCAA. Bemidji State started that trend, picking up 2 players that played in the East Coast League a year ago. And Coach Powers with Jack Beck, who was Noah Beck's brother, and Noah Beck is an ASU Sun Devil, and I think that connection clearly is what allowed this to happen. But the NCAA has made a ruling on some of these guys. I don't think it's something you're going to see going forward.
And that's Greg Powers said they're not.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to be common.
Do, but
it's a guy who played pro hockey. Yep. He's a professional hockey player playing for the ASU Sun Devils. I expect Jack Beck, unfortunately, because of the NCAA ruling, he's going to miss out on the first 3 weekends. So he has to sit out 6 games before he's eligible to play. But he's a guy that's going to, again, experienced. He's going to bring some physicality to this team. He's going to be he's going to be a real leader on the ice for this ASU Sun Devil team. So keep your eye on Jack Back. He's a name to be aware of in college hockey this year.
Another name to be aware of that I'm sure most people are is Cullen Potter. He's kind of the phenom on this team. He's returning for his sophomore season. He got drafted this summer, 32nd overall by the Calgary Flames, making him the highest drafted ever ASU hockey player, the only one to be drafted in the first round of the NHL. He's already been named to the NCHC preseason all-conference team last season. He had 13 goals, 9 assists, 22 points, and he was 17 years old for half of the season. He just turned 18 in January.
Yeah, this kid's special. And I remember watching, you and I went to a few practices last year early, watching him when he was 17, going, I'm not sure. His skill level's phenomenal. Skates like the wind. And when he gets the puck and you see him skate, it's special. Like he is an unbelievable skater, but you go, he's 17. Some of the guys he's playing against are 23, 24. Like, uh-oh. And not only did he fit in, he exceeded and excelled at ASU. He is going to be one of those players that you keep your eye on. When he's on the ice, you notice number 12. He is a guy that so smooth with his skating ability, but his ability to see the ice, his commitment to back check and defend and play both ends of the ice are there. He is a guy that's going to help lead this team. Offensively, he's going to be a guy that's going to be at the top of this ASU stat chart for the entire season. Cullen Potter is a great hockey player. When you're drafted in the first round, you're special. He's special, and he's playing here in the desert. I was concerned. Powers wasn't. I was always concerned. He's a Minnesota kid, and I was always concerned that the portal might open up and he might choose to go somewhere else, maybe back home. But to show that he wants to stay here at ASU to continue his college career, I think that shows what a program that Coach Powers has built.
Absolutely. And you had the chance to ask Coach Powers about Cullen Potter heading into year 2, and here's what he had to say.
I think there's no limit to what he can do. I mean, he scored 13 goals as a 17-year-old in the best league in college hockey last year, and he not could have, he probably should have had 20 to 25. Like, he was that close. So he just creates every time he's on the ice. He with his speed and how dynamic he is. He's a threat, and he's more mature, he's stronger, he's faster, he does everything a little bit better, he's more polished. We're really looking forward to the year he's going to have.
There's a few other players to mention, and somebody put it in the chat as well. Ty Nash, son of no other than Tyson Nash.
A 22-year-old kid played, used up all his junior time. He played college hockey in Canada last season. He's a guy, again, he's got a motor, and he's going to bring a lot of energy to this team. He's going to work incredibly hard. He's a guy that you're going to notice on the ice as well, but maybe not for the same things you notice Cullen Potter for. I don't know if you remember the way his dad played and the energy level that Tyson Nash brought to the game. I think Ty Nash is a guy that's going to be one of the heartbeats of this ASU team. I think it's a big acquisition, and having another kid that grew up here in this community and Drew is an Arizona native, I think that's really important as this program continues to move forward.
Absolutely. And another name to know, Ben Kevin.
Another drafted player.
Yeah, he got drafted 63rd overall in the second round by the New Jersey Devils this past summer as well. So a couple of high draft picks.
I think we talk about
team.
that skill. The Ben Kevin, another guy drafted in the second round, another guy that's going to bring some skill. He is only 18 years old, but he's a young player, but he's another high-skilled player. Cruz Lucius, who was a young player that had a lot of expectations last year, but he was hurt.
Had a lot of injuries.
Missed half the season and never really caught stride. Well, he's back and ready and healthy. So this is a really skilled hockey team. I think they're going to be fun to watch. And again, they're going to get that roof blown off, that Mullet Arena, and hopefully they can get it started right away in this first weekend, because we saw last year how important wins are out of conference.
Yes. And there's a new way that the ranking system is going to happen this year. So the NPI is replacing pairwise. You might be familiar with the pairwise ranking, and you might remember because ASU, despite finishing second in the conference last year, missed out on the NCAA tournament, which was so disappointing. If NPI had been used last year, ASU would have made the NCAA tournament. I know nothing about math and how this all works. Brad Elliott Schlossman, he covers NCAA hockey. He broke it all down on his page. You can check it out. But with all the different ways that this is sorted out, because I don't even understand it. But just know that if it was used last year, ASU would have made the
And it's funny because if you look at our notes, because I'm following the notes, you do have an explanation.
I looked at it. I was like, I can't explain this right now.
That.
No,
like,
I wasn't even going to show the screenshot because
it's
like the meme where with all the math floating around. I know nothing.
Yeah, it's too much. It's too much. To your point, they would have made it in. And I think this levels the playing field, because what happened last year with the computer and the pairways, it outweighed what was happening out east to what was happening out west, which really wasn't fair. And that this makes this more fair. The reality is the ASU Sun Devils missed the national tournament because they had 2 bad periods against non-conference opponents.
Yeah.
And that really shattered their season, and that shouldn't happen.
No.
And I think that, but it also is to show how important these games are. And when we look at them playing Penn State this weekend, it's incredibly important that they're able to compete with a team that's ranked 5 in the country. They don't have to get 2 wins. It'd be great if they did, but they have to compete. They have to show they belong, and these non-conference games are important.
Not that matters for the rankings, but it matters for reputation.
Yes.
So you asked Coach Powers what success looks like for Arizona State this season, and here's what he had to say.
Advancement is winning the NCHC. Advancement is getting further than we did. Advancement is getting back to the NCAA tournament, and not just being content with getting there. It's making sure we end our season in Las Vegas, where the Frozen Four is. And we know we have a team that can absolutely do that. We're not going to talk about it too much or focus on it too much because it's so far away. But we believe that we have the roster and everything in place to advance where we were last year. And last year we were that far away.
Well, we talked about it. PD and I will be there tomorrow at Mullet Arena. We hope to see you there. Again, if you are there, definitely come say hi. You can message us in Discord. And people also have been asking, are we going to do an ASU hockey takeover this year? The answer is yes. I literally had a conversation about it today. And we even said we're going to release those tickets to diehards first. So if you are a PHNX diehard, you get first dibs on getting those tickets, as well as your diehard discount. So become a diehard today. We have a special intro offer going on right now. You can also get a really awesome hat from the store.allcitylocker.com. If you become a diehard, $59 for just 1 year and the hat, or you can do $36 for 1 year and get a free shirt, including the one I'm wearing today, my Hockey Belongs in the Desert shirt, one of my absolute favorites that we have in our locker. So make sure you become a diehard today. By the way, the hockey Discord has been popping the last 2 weeks, probably because of all this news. Yes. But it has felt so good to just be chatting with everyone every day. So it's a blast. And speaking of our diehards, we do have a super chat from one of our diehards.
Seriously?
Off the top, which I forgot to read, but Roaring Fork. I know he'll be there on Friday.
Yes.
The worst part of losing the Coyotes was losing this show 5 days a week. So glad you guys are back. Thank you so much.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I
can do this again. Let's go.
Let's just do it.
Do this every day.
By the 3rd day, we'd run out of things to talk about.
And I just got back into the Discord too. Thanks for inviting me back in.
Yes.
So I can jump in and talk some hockey in the Discord. And one thing, hockey people are passionate and they love their sport. And so I'm excited about this season getting going again. It's great.
Absolutely.
Do I get to go to the takeover?
I would love for you to come.
Because this is the first I'm hearing about it.
I don't have it's nothing official. But
I know, but we're talking about it.
Oh yeah, you're invited.
This is the first I'm hearing. So I'm in. Great. Thanks.
All right.
Well, I'm invited.
Well, there's lots of conversation in our chat right now about the new Tucson Roadrunners jerseys, because they are, of course, going back to the Kachina look, which is, reminiscent of the Coyotes Kachina. I think the jerseys are absolute fire, and the Tucson Roadrunners, this is their 10-year anniversary season.
Unbelievable.
I went to the first ever game, by the
really?
way. I was in college. At U of A, and I went to the first ever Tucson Roadrunners game. I cannot believe it's already been 10 years, so it's their 10-year anniversary season. I love that they're going to the old Kachinas. I know that seeing that Utah patch on the shoulder is a little tough for some people, including yours truly.
Yeah.
But the Roadrunners kick off their season on October 10th at Ontario. Home opener is October 18th versus Calgary. So again, if you're looking for some professional hockey here in the desert, it's here. It's in Tucson, just down the I-10. So absolutely go check out the Roadrunners.
Yeah, and one thing you want to say about the Tucson Roadrunners, I know that the big club isn't here anymore. I understand that. But you get an opportunity to see some of the players that are going to be playing in the National Hockey. Some names that were drafted by the Arizona Coyotes are still in this system. You're going to see a player like Maverick Lamoureux, I think, is going to get some time down in Tucson this year. I think you're going to see Simishev or Boot might potentially start. There's some guys that got drafted while this team was still in Arizona. But most importantly is professional hockey in Arizona. And you look at this coaching staff with Steve Potvin is still back in its entirety. Guys that have given a lot to this program. But what I want to say is they're going into this every day. And all I see on social media and Twitter and is that, oh, this team is moving to Reno. This team is moving to Utah. This team is moving. I felt that as a part of the Arizona Coyote staff for years. Yeah. I just want to give people some clarity. This team is there this year. This team is there next year. Just hang on. Pump the brakes. Let's not talk about Tucson Roadrunners moving quite yet. So I'm excited for the season to get started. I want to get down. I kept saying we're going to make it down last year. We didn't. I'm going to make it down to Tucson this year just to see those guys and see how that team is performing down there. If you get a chance, it's the only professional hockey in the state right now. Get down to Tucson. It's a quick drive. It's a great atmosphere. It's a really good hockey team, and they're doing some really good things there in Tucson.
Yep, absolutely. So we have ASU Hockey, we have the Roadrunners. Also, ASU Women's Hockey opens up their season on October 12th at Mullet against U of A. So you have the club teams, the women's team, the club teams for ASU and U of A as well. We have that new building being built in Tucson. So there's a lot of good. I just think like the vibes are good, and I think I'm one of those people, this might come off like voodoo, but I believe in like putting out good energy and good vibes. And I think that's kind of what we've seen lately. And I think good things will come from that.
Yeah, you know me, positive.
Oh, yeah. The most positive person I've ever met.
Bringing in that positive energy all the time. No, that's changed. I really do. And I think that is it. I think it does start with there. And I think that's what we talked about. Look at the people that are in our chat right now that have been there since the beginning of this. And the diehard and this hockey community and the belief and all of those things, they flow over to Tucson. They flow over to ASU. And ultimately, they're going to flow over to 2.0. And that's this continual positive energy. We'll put out the noise, quiet the noise. We won't listen to the noise from all of the other areas of North America saying this can't happen here, and let's just be positive. Let's enjoy. Hockey starts, man. Hockey starts next week.
I can't believe it.
ASU starts tomorrow.
I can't believe it.
Like competitive hockey.
We're gonna be in Mullet Arena tomorrow. Crazy.
Yep. Can't wait. Do they have donuts there? No, they don't. Mini donuts.
By the way, Shelby says she has video for you to review for her adult league.
I gotta. So, yeah, I'll break it down.
Take that to Discord.
I'll break it down. Yeah, drop it in the Discord. We'll take a look, Shelby. I know. I'm helping out high school kids of friends across the country right now on their film. I would be glad to help.
Love it. All right, Petey. Well, we've talked about a lot today. We heard from Andrea Doan. We talked about ASU. What are your final closing thoughts as we wrap up here on a Thursday?
First, I want to say how much this feels like home. Sitting here with you talking hockey, and I miss it, and I hope, and we talk about hashtag hope for this coming back. I really hope that we get to do this on a continual basis again for another team, because I really enjoy doing this, and I think this is a lot of fun coming down here and talking hockey with you. I do want to say I believe. I really do believe, and I know where there's smoke, there's fire, and there is so much going on. There are so many conversations behind the scenes that are happening in the state of Arizona to bring hockey back to the desert. Just hang in there, keep believing, and believe in the hope. And Tom Galvin and his group and their committee are doing everything they can to bring hockey back. And I sincerely believe that it will be back here in the not too distant future.
I believe it as well. And it's I can't wait. I said in Discord the other day, I said when this team comes back, all of us will be so insufferable, but in the best way, and I cannot wait. I cannot wait. I love talking hockey with you, PD. And now the hockey season's starting, hopefully we'll be able to do this a little bit more. Just check in on absolutely. ASU. You know where to find us. Make sure you subscribe to the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. Subscribe to the PHNX Hockey podcast, where also you can find the full-length press conference in there as well, and you can expect the Coach Powers interview that PD did in there as well. And make sure you subscribe to PD's YouTube channel, Inside the Coach's Room. PD does a ton of great video breakdowns, so if you're looking to learn more about the game, he also does tons of interviews, so make sure you subscribe and follow him on Twitter at @SPetersHockey. Follow me at Leah Merrall. Follow the show at PHNX_hockey. And a special thanks to Ayrton. Ayrton, is this your first time producing the hockey show?
This is.
Wow.
Hey, man, a few words, Ayrton.
Yeah.
For now.
He's a producer of The Sun Show, has a great Twitter handle, Freckled Mamba. Great. I mean, just, yeah.
I can't believe that wasn't taken.
Oh, man. But anyway, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you again so much for being here, whether you're watching live or later. Be sure to hit the thumbs up on this video before you leave. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday, everybody. Enjoy a weekend of college hockey. Enjoy the NHL returning next week. And we hope to talk to everybody again very, very soon.
We all silly like the mayor.